Hey guys, what's happening? So we are back for the conclusion of Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And I gotta say, there's a lot of ends that need to be tied up in this conclusion. And be that as it may, some of these ends, they just kind of get taped together. So let's talk about it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to like that smash button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, the first thing we do is pick back up with Superman, because in the last issue, one moment he was in the Watchtower, and the next thing we knew he was down under the sea with Godzilla, which at the time seemed a bit odd, because it was presented like, oh, he's just gonna rush down here without saying nothing to Lois. But coming back now for the conclusion, we find out that's not the case, because this time around we're actually given the explanation of what had happened when we jump back 10 minutes before what we saw last. Because it was at this time when Lois was at the Watchtower, when Superman came back to her. And when he does, it's here where he explains what exactly had happened. Because he tells Lois he was never actually dead. And while he was down, he could still hear bits and pieces, but at the end of the day, he owes his life to Cyborg and Batman, because they rigged the Watchtower's teleporter into a makeshift boom tube to transport Superman to the sun in order to give him that solar supercharge that he needed. But for me, with hearing this, I'm thinking like, yeah, that's a clever plan, but at the same time, I can't help but to think, how long would it have taken either Batman or Cyborg just to tell Lois? Like this healing chamber didn't have a notification system or something? But either way, after Superman explains this, he finally proposes to Lois, which like we saw before, he'd been trying to do since the first issue, only to have their moment interrupted by Godzilla. But now that he's back, he pops the question and Lois says yes. And as soon as she does, they share a passionate kiss, and Lois tells him to get back out there and do the same thing that nearly got you killed. And following this, we go over to Deathstroke and Cheetah, who, like we've seen before, they've been looking for Toyman for some time, using Lex's technology, tracking CCT footage, and this leads them to the point where they now find out that Toyman has been so good at hiding is because he's dead. And he's been dead after getting stepped on by Godzilla. But even with Deathstroke and Cheetah finding Toyman's body, there's no sign of the Dreamstone. All they know is that Toyman had it last. And it's pretty hilarious what happened to the Dreamstone. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But before we do, we head back over to Centennial Park, where currently we got the ultimate Titan smackdown going on. And in the middle of this all-out brawl, you might have noticed the lantern ring of the recently deceased Guy Gardner is just floating around here. Cause like we saw, after the Jolly Rancher Gundam got taken down, Gorilla Grodd wasted no time, leaping into action and landing on Guy Gardner's neck. Like he just knew which lantern he wanted to go for, while also at this time you got Beast Boy, who's just laid out, after turning into his version of Kong, only to get rocked in the back of the head by Supergirl. So to get him back in the fight, Green Lantern Jessica Cruz, she wakes Beast Boy back up using some emergency smelling salts, and they fortunately do the trick, which from here allows Beast Boy to get big with it one more time and help King Kong out. But even the two of these Kongs have a hard time keeping up with the additional Skull Crawlers. And I mean, that's aside from Skullcrawler Prime, or whatever you want to call the huge one. So to help out, Supergirl, Wonder Woman, and Donna Troy step in, and they start taking out some of the regular sized Skullcrawlers. Cause the Skullcrawlers are also going after the Batmech, which is a problem because it's not really designed to take on multiple Titans. So for Batman, Flash, and Cyborg, who are inside, it's a huge help. Because with the combination of Mechagodzilla's beacon calling the other monsters here, and Godzilla missing, Lex Luthor has been using the advantage of having Mechagodzilla as the apex titan to get all of these other monsters to follow suit. So in the bigger picture, this has given all the heroes here a hard time, and they really don't know how much longer they can hold out. Meanwhile, when we head back over to Superman, who's still out here doing side missions, we find that he's made his way to the Legion of Doom headquarters to free Billy Batson, who prior to this, back in issue 5, tried to take on the Legion by himself, which in my unpopular opinion, I believe this is something Shazam should be able to do. But given the circumstances with him being drunk with guilt, so to speak, that's when he got caught lacking, knocked out unconscious, to where from there the Legion of Doom held a minor against his will, which just ain't right, no matter how you want to phrase it. So with Superman showing up, Billy's apologizing because he knows he messed up. So Superman forgives him, and he tells Billy, just stick to being Shazam when it comes to combat situations. And next, he tells Billy to meet him in Metropolis, because following this, Superman has one more stop to make. And the very next thing we see is Shazam make his way back to the fight to smack Mechagodzilla just in time before the Batmech gets blasted, which in a way this works out as far as cutting down the number of Skullcrawlers, cause one of them ends up catching a stray as a result. But even with that being the case, the Batmech has 5 other Skullcrawlers closing in. So to help him out, the remaining Lanterns come back together and reform their Green Lantern Jolly Rancher mech, with them now forming a shield in the place of Guy Gardner. And as for the other Titans, Shazam, Donna Troy, and Wonder Woman team up to take down the Behemoth, as Supergirl helps Robin and Red Hood to take down Scylla. So now the remaining threats are really just the Legion of Doom, the Skullcrawler Pro Max and all his accessories, and Mechagodzilla. And as the fight continues, it's here where we go back to Superman, where now the timetable is caught up to where we left off in the last issue. Cause now in this current moment, with Superman making his way to Godzilla, he tells Godzilla he understands why he attacked him. Which right here just really goes back to one of the points that we focused on in our previous talks, when we went into the whole idea of Godzilla being the king of monsters, whose job is to preserve the natural order, and that being the reason why when he came here and saw all these metahumans, he just figured that he had his work cut out for him. So Superman just tells him that he's gonna get Godzilla out of here and help him return home, which initially just leads to Godzilla trying to hit him again with that atomic breath. So Superman dodges it and he swings back, but he only does this to get Godzilla worked up just enough so when he sets him free, he'll follow Superman to the real fight, cause he didn't come here for a round 2. Though I imagine punching Godzilla back had to feel good just a little bit. And now with them heading back, we're given this moment in Central Park that some of you guys were talking about in the comments, saying that this was gonna happen months ago. And I don't know if it's because you guys are clairvoyant or if you were just peeping out some scheduled variant covers, but the moment a lot of you guys are waiting for is here. Cause now, after seeing the Ring of Guy Gardner just float around for a good minute, we see it make its way to King Kong. And he doesn't go too crazy with the constructs, cause I mean, he's got his axe and your standard Green Lantern shield. And I mean, unless that's green Gorilla Glass, but you know, I don't really think Kong is putting too much thought into it. But now with Kong able to handle more of the Skullcrawlers, this frees up Wonder Woman, Shazam, Donna, and Supergirl. So they split up in 2 groups, each grabbing one of Mechagodzilla's arms, and they tear him off. So the Batmech steps in to break Mechagodzilla's back, which feels like a moment that's heavily inspired by Nightfall. And not just that, but it's like this Batman went for the back break so quick, it's almost like he had it on his mind for a good while. But right after he does, the huge Skullcrawler just comes in and takes the Batmech out of the fight, which now just leaves Green Lantern King Kong to take this thing on alone, you know, aside from the little people fighting down below. And just before Green Lantern Kong has to take this thing on by himself, Superman and Godzilla show up, and it almost looks like they're posing for a picture here. Like, it looks insanely good. And now, with the 2 top dogs from their respective universes here, both Superman and Godzilla give this Skullcrawler the 1-2 combination of heat vision and atomic breath, which together just tear through this thing's exoskeleton like it's smoking. So following up with more of its delicate area exposed, Green Lantern King Kong comes through, and he drops the axe on it, delivering the killing blow. So now with the Titan-sized chaos being over, the Green Lantern ring leaves King Kong, and now Diana and the others, they're asking about Toyman, cause they still need the Dreamstone to send these Titans home. So Superman tells them Toyman's dead. He got crushed under Godzilla's foot. And Superman knows this cause he overheard Cheetah and Deathstroke talking about it on his way in. And just after saying this, Superman, he whips out the Dreamstone. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if you think Toyman's death was anticlimactic, the way that Superman got the Dreamstone is even crazier. Cause as soon as he pulls it out, someone's like, hey, where'd you get that? And Superman's like, I found it under the same foot. Which right there is wild, cause the Dreamstone has just been sitting under Godzilla's foot practically this whole time. Man, it's a good thing he wasn't out here making wishes. So following this, Superman, he ends up sending the Titans home, while the other heroes help take care of what's left of the Legion. And we also find out now, after the whole back and forth between Lex and Deathstroke and the others about who's the Legion's new leader, all that gets thrown away. And Lex is held responsible for all of it, since he's the one who led the Legion to Superman's fortress in the first place, which, like we saw, that's what started this whole thing. So yeah, that's more or less how it all ends. And I mean, we also get a moment where Clark and Lois finally get some time to themselves to go on a date, now that they're officially engaged and ready to live happily ever after. But yeah, that's it. The end. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.